Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of 12 Days of Workforce Wisdom Reflections, Realities, and Resets to Wrap 2025, Empower 2026. I am overjoyed to welcome back to the show, probably the person who's been on more than anyone. And I was just thinking, I was like, you want to hear again? Like,
You keep inviting me, so I keep coming
First of all,
back.
first of all,
I'm happy to be here.
yes. For those of you who don't know, this is my line sister, my Black FF, my BFF, my FF, my Jersey joint, like everything. But for y'all, she is an author, a speaker, a podcaster, an HR dynamo leader, award winning, by the way.
Okay. Let the people know.
Jersey to Richmond to, I have to say it specifically because we can't just say Virginia.
Yeah.
So Jersey to Richmond to North Carolina. Miss Sir, how you doing?
Yes. Hello. Hello, friends in the chat. I'm so glad to be
Yes.
back in the trap.
Back in the trap for sure. Okay. So we're just going to get started. We're going to start with reflections.
Yes.
Using the lenses of equity and inclusion, what stood out to you as the most defining shifts in employee experience and workplace culture this year?
Ooh. I think for me, it was how like the hot potato drop of all things DEI, right? Like
Really?
I of course we knew with the government saying, "Hey, you don't really have to, focus on this anymore. In fact, it might could get you in trouble," right? That's what the rulings coming out of 2024 were saying. And the number of organizations, large organizations who have made really strong, massive commitments to DEI who went bet and just like blew up their whole focus, external and internal. They just was like, all right then, like threw it away, like F them kids,
Right.
was surprising and definitely a defining shift because it quickly separated organizations into those who were really about that life and those who were clearly always being performative. And that is that's been eye-opening, and I think it's led to a lot of difficult conversation, a lot of difficult choices for people as consumers, as employees. Like, do I still rock with this company even though they have dialed all the way back or completely abandoned this thing that is so deeply personal and important to me? So I think that has been a huge thing in workplace culture, looking at things through the lens of equity and inclusion. That's been huge this year and continues to make headlines. I mean, we just heard, was it AT&T the other day that was like, yeah, we ain't doing this no more. Like we just, that just hit so it's continuing to make headlines and make waves. And it's an unfortunate reality that has really burst into the forefront this year.
Oh, absolutely. I'm running out of tomatoes. As you know, I'm throwing tomatoes and
the poor tomato farmers, like how we get in this, like
poor tomatoes.
This is what we growing tomatoes for, to throw them at trash people and trash organizations who do trash things. Like that is what tomatoes are for now. Like the poor farmers. We sorry.
Well,
maybe or maybe not. Maybe we're not.
Maybe not. I mean, well, we got to think about that. You said it was a surprise to you, and this is not on our script, but we really don't need it. But
Yeah,
we
we'll
got
never
we got
make
to be
it.
timely. We got to be timely. So, but I do need to point out. You mentioned, the government saying do this, do that, but we have to talk about the world's leading HR organization. Who
Ooh,
what?
ooh, we going there. Let's go. Go
But
ahead.
I mean, you said it's surprising, but some
Hmm.
of us have been on Fix It for a minute.
Yeah.
Um, and I got to the point where I feel like they're irreparably harmed, especially
Oh,
when
for
they
sure.
when they drop things like equity. And then I don't know if you saw the article that came out yesterday that I saw yesterday. I think it might have come out on Tuesday. But something with they were like, please don't call us experts for a discrimination suit that they're in. But we can talk about that another time. But yeah.
Ooh. Mm.
So
Tomatoes.
surprise. I don't know.
I think
But
it surprise for me. The surprise was how quickly they did it. Not that they
mm,
did it. I anticipated that organizations would be more quiet about how
oh
they rolled those things back. But instead, we found that organizations were loud and arguably proud about how quickly they
mm,
abandoned those initiatives, and that to me was surprising,
okay,
because, like, y'all really just said "F them kids," like, like, that was loud, like, loud,
very,
and obviously they were trying to signal to a specific group and demographic in doing that. So that part is not surprising, but that they did it so quickly and so loudly, so
yeah,
unapologetic and unabashed about the thing was like, "Oh, wow." Like,
yeah,
wow. Yeah, that hit me with a wow. And then you go, "Meh," back to business as usual, because for us as Black people, brown people, other people of color, anybody on the margins who has a sense of social consciousness,
mm,
you hit a moment where it's like, this is disappointing but not surprising, and let me go ahead on and get back to Tuesday, because or Friday, or whatever day of the week it is, because you can't wallow in that, because it's not unexpected given the world and the systems of power that drive that world. So it's always like, ooh, and then you go back to
yeah.
business as usual because you have to.
All right, I'm going to stay here in your wheelhouse.
Okay.
Um, so looking back at 2025 as a whole, what would you say were the biggest misunderstandings employees and organizational leaders had about what true inclusion and belonging require in practice?
Oof. So, oh, how do I say this? The it really is a that this is a cultural issue more so than a compliance issue. And I think that somewhere along the line, because compliance is always easier, it's always easier to dive into the compliance bucket than it is to shift real culture, because shifting culture is about changing, like, hearts and minds and actions. And it's so much easier to be like, we did, here are all the things we did, the trainings, the information, the policy, whatever it is, like the client, all the compliance things that we do. Then we don't hold people accountable well to behaving toward those things until it becomes some outlandish act. And we miss what we know to be the microaggressive things that lead up and lead into that. Um, I've used this example before. When I was working for a company, we had a weekly leadership meeting, of most of the senior leaders. I won't say all, most of the senior leaders in the organization. And the one of the vice president who was in charge of organizing that meeting and the agenda, sent a message out on Slack to all the women leaders asking who wanted to be responsible for taking notes, or if we were okay with a rotating schedule of us taking notes. And I'm looking at this list, where the men's at, right? That is unbelievably microaggressive. It is the antithesis of inclusion and belonging, and just wrong, dead ass wrong on so many levels. And yet I look like the crazy radical person when I say that out loud and tell that individual, I ain't taking nobody's notes but my own. Now nor never. You can rotate right on past me because I won't be doing this. But then I look crazy and I'm the one that's called to the carpet, so to speak, for refusing to participate, even though there were, easily five, six male executives who were never included, and given the option to take these notes in the first place. But somehow that was okay. But me saying I made it a thing, right? And so we're still failing at recognizing those things, at placing the onus and the burden where it belongs, and holding accountable the true offenders in those situations. And that's been going on. And my fear is that with us now abandoning the education around diversity, equity, and inclusion, that education brings awareness that will make a
Yeah.
person like that think twice before they send the message to all the women leaders asking them who wants to take the notes. Um,
Yeah.
and suddenly makes that behavior almost okay again. Um, and I think we have to be careful about recognizing like some of the progress that was made and not throwing that away in hopes of signaling to certain people in power that, I'm not one of those, don't come after me, because we're not doing the DEI stuff anymore. So
Yeah.
we still don't understand that inclusion and belonging are feelings more that come from actions that are based in equity practice. We still miss that, as the point that these are things that build on top of each other, and you can't kind of have one without the other. And it starts with awareness, and until awareness is allowed and encouraged, and until accountability becomes the standard, we're going to continue to struggle with that. And that's going to leave a large portion of our workforce coming into work every day feeling tense, feeling on guard, feeling like they can't be fully themselves, and waiting for something, waiting for the
Yeah.
affront to happen. And who can create, who can be their best selves, who can do their best work when that's the environment that they're in. And that's hurting your company. And
Yeah.
that we're still arguing about this, in 2025 going into 2026, is pathetic. It's just pathetic.
I agree. You've already segued into my realities and,
Yes.
and kind of answered the next question, but I'm going to ask you for another example. But I do want to give a stat. I love getting the job numbers. You know that. Um,
Hmm.
so since I originally put these questions together, the numbers have changed. They've gone up, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um, 1.17 million job cuts have been announced through November. That includes more than 300,000 Black women. So, from your vantage point, what real world challenges are employees, particularly those in marginalized groups, facing right now? And then, are there any areas where you see leaders unintentionally making things harder?
Um, oof. So marginalized groups are living and working in fear right now because not just because of these numbers are a part of it, but um for all the other things that are happening in the world. We are living in real actual fear for our livelihoods, for our physical safety, for our psychological safety, for our abilities to provide for
Our
our
families.
lives. Yeah,
Yeah.
for ourselves, for our families, for our children. That's real and can't be understated. And another thing is that many in marginalized communities are taking care of not just their own families, but extended family as
Mhm.
well. You had a couple of years ago, Workhuman, Dr. Misha Ann Martin led this study with Black men in tech. Shout out to them about particularly Black men in technology, and the it was a high percentage of them who admitted to, like, I take care of not just my household, but I'm also helping out my mom, I'm helping out my, sister and nieces and nephews and like that kind of scenario. And that is widespread within marginalized communities. And so these 300,000 plus Black women who are now without jobs, and struggling to find new work,
Yeah.
are it's not just impacting their household, it's the ripple effect that it has on the elder generation and the younger generation, because they don't have the additional that they give to their, taking their mom to the hairdresser, paying for their niece or nephew's
School
lessons, school
uniforms.
uniforms, that
Yes.
sort of thing. Like, all of that goes away. And the psychological impact of not just being out of work, but now, my ability to help my family is also in jeopardy, and watching them not have because
Hmm.
I don't have, and the impact that that has. So we are it's a real crisis. And it's interesting that, because I believe that this is Kamala Harris backlash, the same way that a lot of what Black people have faced in the years since Obama was backlash for President Obama and his rise and popularity
Okay.
and continued popularity. I think what we're seeing now is the Black woman's backlash coming off of Kamala's
Mm.
run. And it's interesting to me, the Obama backlash felt more gradual, more quiet. This feels much more quick and loud. And it's just interesting to me watching that. And I don't know how many other thought leaders
Mm.
have talked about, the connection between those things, but I think I feel pretty fair and confident in saying that the two are linked because of how quickly it happened. It's like she lost, and now all y'all 92% who were so excited about and had the audacity to believe that she was actually going to win with a 107
Wow.
day campaign. Ha ha, jokes on you. And not only is she not um in power the way
Wow.
that you anticipated, but your rise is now going to be stunted too. And I think it's a message to not just us, but to those of us in the margins advocating heavily and
Wow.
trying to lead that the way through. I think it's a message. And this one came through a lot quicker than it
Sheesh.
did by comparison with the Obama presidency and all that that entailed. So um that's my thought, on that. In terms of what leaders may be doing to make things unintentionally harder, that's tough to answer, because ugh, I I'm not sure that I know what I'm not like I don't have strong thought. I'll say that. I don't have strong thought about like what the leaders are doing. My hope is that they're not intentionally
Right.
selecting black women in the areas that we frequent professionally as the target of
But they
their
are doing it unintentionally
right.
in the
But
sense that we
and
know
like
that we
somehow
occupy those areas. Like when it comes time to decide who's going to get riffed,
right.
they know who occupies those places
Exactly.
they go for first. So perhaps change your approach to how you're going to
Yeah.
reduce workforce,
Yeah.
things like that. So I think that's an unintentional one. And I don't know the person who sent the email, but I have heard that story before. Perhaps again, don't. I'm just perhaps because I'm sure that person, that like person, never done it. So if there was someone out there who did something similar, perhaps they unintentionally did that because, as you said, they didn't have the education to get the awareness that there are specific things that they expect women to do in terms of
Yeah.
housekeeping and in terms of
Note taking.
coordination,
Yeah. Administrative.
scheduling.
Yeah.
Yes,
Administrative
that they don't
coordination.
ask
Yeah.
men to do.
Yeah.
So okay, all right. Let's. Oh, and I got to put a pin in that. The thought that you just gave me, because that's a lot to unpack
It
and
is.
and
It
think
is.
about.
It is.
Yeah. Okay. Now let's move on to these fun culture statements that y'all be making.
Oh,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
oh.
Culture statements, okay, they say one thing, but honestly, the employee experience tells another story.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just give me a signal that employees should be paying closer attention to as companies are thinking about, revising their policies, editing, and refining. I'm using good words today.
You
Their
are.
their culture commitments heading into 2026.
Yeah. So I think 2026 might be a time to pause on
Culture.
not pause on culture, because here's the thing, culture's always gonna be like I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with executives who are like, and we don't have culture here. Oh, you got a culture. You might not like it. It might not be healthy, but
Right.
you got a culture. And so, because for me, and the way that I've always defined it is culture is what it feels like to work
Mm.
somewhere, right? Like your workplace culture is what it feels like to work here. It might feel horrible. And then that's an indicator that your culture is unhealthy. And so instead of trying to um create these like lofty descriptions of like this idealized state of culture, maybe just putting your finger on the pulse of what the culture actually is and making a plan to revise that. Like, can let's not talk so much and let's listen a little bit more, and let's focus our energies and our attentions on the ways in which our cultures are not meeting the expectations that we have for them, and how we take action to fix that, and less about defining these
Mm.
ideals when we know that when we know that that's not real, that's not true, that's not what is actually existing in the spaces, that would be like my advice um to organizations. And on the flip side of that, like if you absolutely are committed to these culture statements, keep it and put a little disclaimer on it. Like this, like let people
I've
know
seen them. Yeah,
that
we're
like
trying. We're not there
this
yet.
is yeah, like this is where we're trying to get to. We're not there yet. We're a work in progress, but don't set people up so you set up people who are coming into your organization new to with these culture statements online, and they look at them and they think that that's what they're going to be walking into, and then it's not.
Hmm. Yeah.
Or they and then you set up the people who actually work there to feel a little gaslit, a little and very conflicted about how I talk about this environment, because it doesn't match the thing that's on the website. So just acknowledging the ways in which you may be a work in progress is uh is probably a good thing if you can't back away from it altogether and let your intentions around culture be quiet, so that the reality of your culture can breathe a little bit more, and you can be a little bit more intentional about how you address that.
I think that's a great reset, which is my next question. No, it's a great one. So you can restate that, or you can give me another one. So as we wrap 2025, what reset do you believe organizations and individual leaders need to make to rebuild trust, repair harm, and create workplaces where people can thrive?
Child, that is
You only need to give me one. You only need to give
okay.
me, yeah,
One,
yeah.
I listening tours are always
Hmm.
a good thing. Now, I don't know, you have to decide who in your organization needs to do that. In some organizations, it ends up being, your HR, your people ops, whoever. In other organizations, it may be
Your
someone in
change team.
leadership. Yeah, your change team. But putting together some crafted questions around like what's going on in your organization and what people actually need and want to feel like
Mm,
trust is being rebuilt, harm is being repaired, right? Would be great. I'm a spoiler alert this for you and say most of the time what people want is forthrightness. That's been a word
mm,
that's been like floating around in my own work a lot lately. Is really people just being forthcoming and honest about what what's happening, why it's happening,
yeah.
where we anticipate things shifting and settling out, like what's the goal, what's the vision here. That in most instances is going to be enough to get people to give you in the workplace to give you more of a chance, and then you have to continue to demonstrate integrity. And that for me has always been say what you're going to do what you say you're going to do, and then let people know that you did what you said you was going to do. That's it. That's the integrity recipe. And if you do that consistently enough, people will begin to trust you. Trust that was broken can be repaired, and the harm that you've caused can begin to heal. You also have to recognize that sometimes the individual, cannot heal in the environment that broke them. And so
Mm,
you have to be willing to let people go to grow and heal in the way that makes sense for them, and bless that and wish it well, rather than what I see a lot of leaders sometimes do is be resentful that the person didn't want to tough it out with you. Well, sometimes everybody's built different. The harm that happens in our workplaces has a real impact on
mm,
our psychological selves, our neurological selves, and sometimes you just can't heal in the place that broke you. And
Yes.
sometimes moving on is the only option for that individual to find that repair. It doesn't mean there's any hard feelings. It doesn't mean that your attempts at repair and rebuilding trust were for nothing. It just means that that person needs an environment to heal that this place just can't provide, and you got to be okay with that.
I love it. And that's a great segue to my last question.
Boop boop.
Okay. So, because this is for, we've been talking to organizations, organizational leaders, HR practitioners, and now I want you to talk to the employees. I want you to talk
Hmm.
to the workers. As we power into 2026, what's one piece of year-end wisdom you give to people who want to do a better job of advocating for themselves with more confidence and more clarity?
Yeah. So I'm gonna take and I don't know if she's gonna be a guest in this Things of
Who?
Wisdom, Candia Johnson.
No.
And that's okay because I'm gonna steal this from her lovingly, as she says. I'm gonna lovingly steal
Lovingly.
this from her. And that is the advice she gives me is like confidence comes last. So what
Ooh.
confidence comes from consistent successful practice, right? And so this is my coach K, as I call her. That's the thing that she has like ingrained into me. And so when you ask the question about like advocating for yourselves, it has to start with the little things, and know that it will build towards the confidence to advocate for yourself in the smaller things. So what do I mean when I say that? um it's holding your calendar blocks. Like when you put productivity time on your calendar and then your coworker drops a meeting in the middle of your productivity block, going to that individual, not just rejecting the invite, right? But actually going to that individual and saying, "Hey, this block is really important to me. It's an essential thing for me to be able to get this deliverable that I'm
Okay.
responsible for done. And so I'm going to decline this invitation. And just in the future, if you see those kind of blocks, please know that they're critical. They're as critical to me as any meeting. And so don't schedule over them." Because our inclination is to be like the audacity, right? But that don't do that. Like it's the
Okay.
small no, it's the small advocating for yourself in those sorts of things. It's being in the meeting and someone interrupts you, and
Ooh.
you no sass, no extra spin on it. You actually just get a little louder and be like, I'm not finished. Like you cutting those sorts of things off. Like the more that you start to um micro affirm yourself, then when it
Okay.
comes time, because we always jump to the big things when we start talking about this. We go ask your boss for a raise, right? We jump to the big thing. That's hard, right? Like that, like
Yeah.
no one is ever going to tell you that that's easy, or that it's immediately going to work out for your favor the first time that you do it. So my recommendation has been like start holding those boundaries, holding those lines, advocating for yourself in the small ways, because confidence comes last. And the more that you build that momentum, you build that habit. It's like you can't immediately walk out your front door and run a marathon, but you can walk to the end of the block. Like the more that you start to build the habit and build the confidence that you can do the thing, then when the big things come, the confidence is already built, the foundation is already there, and you don't have the same hesitations and fear around advocating for yourself. So that's my advice, is that the micro affirmation of advocating for yourself in the small things will lead you to the big things and the big wins.
I love that. Confidence comes last and
Mhm.
micro affirmations. I've learned like three things today.
Look at us learning stuff on a
Yes.
Friday.
All right, let's do the holiday
Okay.
fun. Okay. Your favorite holiday tradition.
It has become so when I was little, my grandmother did two things. One, we always got, actually this was more of my mom than my grandma. My mom always got us new ornaments for the Christmas
Oh,
tree because it was a way to, in my opinion, it was a way to shut us up from asking, can we open something? So here, take this ornament, right? And my grandma will always get us new Christmas pajamas because
oh,
Father Christmas did not want you waking up and he didn't want to come deliver your stuff in the same ragtag pajamas you wear all the time. So that has become a tradition for me and my family is buying them ornament. And the kids look forward, even they're grown now. Like I say kids, my youngest child is 16 and
yeah.
they look forward to what is my ornament going to be, what pajamas am I wearing for Christmas Eve? It's a thing. And so it has renewed itself as a favorite tradition of mine, and I look forward to watching them
I
do
love
that
it.
for themselves. Our oldest actually just took all of his ornaments from over the years to his own house, and now it's on his tree, and so I get to continue to add to
Oh,
their Christmas. Yeah, and my mom did the same thing for me when I got my first apartment. She took all my ornaments and sent them to me, and
that's
so I still
beautiful.
have ornaments from when I was like 5, 6 years old on my tree today, alongside the ornaments of my kids who were 5 and 6 years old. And when we put up the tree, it's like, oh my God, I remember making this. Or, oh my God, I remember when we bought this. Oh, this is my favorite one. Like it's a time. And so that part of Christmas is one of my favorite traditions. It's all the nostalgia
I
that goes
love
with
it.
that.
I love that. Okay. Last question, because I already said it was the last question, but it was the last question for that, not for this. All right. Do you set New Year's resolutions? And if so, do you have one that you'd like to share for 2026?
I don't. I kind of gave that up somewhere along the ways, I set goals
Okay.
for myself, period, but I wouldn't
Mm,
necessarily call it a resolution. I do try to select a word for each year. Like the word
okay.
for this year for me was momentum.
Ooh.
And it was really about keeping the practice of just moving things forward, whatever it is that I'm doing. Like keep yourself in practice of moving things forward. Now we could do a whole episode about how I've both succeeded and failed at that. That is for another day, but that was the word. And so I probably will select another word, a different word for 2026 to like help me in reflection.
Okay.
But in terms of setting like resolutions, I stopped doing that a while ago, and I'm good with that. Because I think a new year can happen any day. Like I can decide today that this is a new year and that 365 days from now,
Mm,
I want my life, my world to look different, and I can make steps to make that happen. And so it doesn't have to be January 1st. It can be, for me, I don't like doing a whole lot in the beginning of the year. Like
yeah.
it's we right in the middle of daylight saving season. It's dark, it's cold, like the everything in nature is hibernating, but I'm supposed to suddenly have all these goals and ambitions. Like, let's go take a nap, shall we? So,
Yes.
I like, starting to really thug it out in the spring and going into the summer.
I
So
love
that,
it.
so I think you have to do what works best for you to keep yourself moving forward to the best, most healthy, thriving version of yourself. And whenever that new year comes, that's when you should do it. And it doesn't have to be January 1, February 1. It could be July 1. You can work on a fiscal calendar. Do you? Like, do what makes
Okay.
sense to you.
I love it. I always appreciate you and I thank you and love you for giving your time so graciously to me every time I'm like, hey, I have this idea. Let's do this. And you're like, okay.
Sure.
And then I bully you
You
when
do.
you
You do, and you did. But first of all, like
I did.
we've been doing that for like 30 years.
Yes.
So, and yes, Kirsten has been bullying me on the low and on the high for 30 years. And like, just so everybody watching and listening knows that she sent the email out asking us to schedule this interview and texted me 3 hours later talking about why you ain't scheduled your interview yet. Like,
That's not what it said.
that was the energy of it. That's how I interpreted it.
No, it was actually worse because
Oh, well, see, I
I
appreciate
sent
your
a message.
honesty.
Here's the honesty. I sent a message to our group, to a group chat that we're in, of other people who were invited, because 2 people had already scheduled their times and 2 people had not. And all I said was 2 people had scheduled their
So now you trying to say hit dogs was hollering? Is that what you trying to say? But you conveniently left out the part where you had only sent the email like 2, 3 out. Like, she made it seem like we had missed a request from days before.
It
And
was for days before because I asked you in person.
oh, I don't remember that. You know what we was doing on Friendsgiving. I have limited recollection.
Okay.
You had me drinking from the morning till the evening. So we want to talk about the infusions. We was infusing in early in the morning.
Oh my goodness. So everyone, we are going to take the rest of this conversation offline. We have spent some good time. Sarah has given you a great deal of information, great deal of workforce wisdom, and I do hope you will come back for episode 4. Join me next time. Thank you for being on Trap Chat, and thank you all for watching.
Happy holidays. Love everyone.